Shalom, shalom. It's your brother Danal, brother Azrael, and brother Isaiah back again with another video on this Wisdom Wednesday, right? On this Wisdom Wednesday, man, I just want to give a quick exhortation, man, little encouragement video to all of those that are striving to do the work of the Lord, or just just in this thing, striving daily to do what's right, right? The title of this video is going to be called The Servant's Duty, right? The Servant's Duty. Giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We do so by way of his son, who was an instrument of salvation for the nation, right? And we do say shalom. We're going to start by kicking this thing off with some scripture. Like I said, man, the title of this video is called "The Servant's Duty." We're gonna be going into pretty much a topic of it's almost an interview question topic, right? You know, you go to an interview, they always ask you this question: name one time that you went above and beyond the call of duty, right? That's kind of what we're gonna be looking into today, right? Little snippet. We're going to go to Luke chapter 17, and we're going to start at verse number 7. We're going to read through 10. If one of you brothers want to read that for me.
Luke chapter 1 and verse
No, Luke 17.
Luke chapter 17 and verse 7. But which of you, having a servant plowing or feeding cattle, will say unto him by and by, when he is come from the field, go and sit down to meat?
Right.
Verse 8. And will not rather say unto him, make ready wherewith I may sup, and gird thyself, and serve me, till I have eaten and drunken, and afterward thou shalt eat and drink.
Right.
Doth he thank that servant because he did the things that were commanded him? I trow not.
Right. It says, does he thank the servant because he did the things that he was commanded to do? He said, no, he doesn't thank that servant, right, for doing what he's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? I think that's important to understand, is that some of us, we look for thank yous for doing what's right, doing what we're supposed to do, right? But you don't get that pat on the back, that congratulation, that reward, really, until you go above and beyond the call of duty. Keep reading though. Verse 10 is the point.
Verse 10. So likewise ye, and ye shall have done all those things which are commanded you, say we are unprofitable servants. We have done that which was our duty to do.
Right. So it says, likewise, you also, right? When you've done what you have commanded to, what you have been commanded to do, right? Say then we are still unprofitable servants, right? Meaning we're still good for nothing, right? We have done that which our duty was to do. Meaning, hey, look, man, I shouldn't be boasting in the fact I'm doing something I was supposed to do, right? For example, this is kind of extreme, but if I woke up today and I didn't kill nobody, I'm not gonna go buy a cake and celebrate, right? It's something that I'm not supposed to be doing in the first place, right? I'm not supposed to be looking at my neighbor's wife. I don't get a pat on the back for doing that. I'm not supposed to be doing it in the first place, right? And let's get into it. Keeping these feast days, right? I don't deserve a pat on the back for keeping these feast days. I'm supposed to, right? It says, read number 10 for me one more time, man.
Right. Number 10, verse 10. So likewise ye, when ye shall have done all those things which are commanded you, say, we are unprofitable servants. We have done that which was our duty to do.
Come on, man. We have done which was our duty to do. What is our duty, man? Right? This is a Wisdom Wednesday. We're gonna go back to some basics and some classics, just in case you guys forgot. What is our duty to do? Let's go to Ecclesiastes. Can't find it. There you go. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. All right, what is our duty?
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
Fearing God and keeping his commandments. This is our duty. We have done our duty, what is called for us to do, right? Paraphrasing. You know what I'm saying? But that's our duty. So we shouldn't boast in that. Matter of fact, once we fear God and we keep his commandments, what should we do? We should say that we're still unprofitable, that we're good for nothing, right? And we should be pushing for the mark. That's why we get on here and we do these videos every week, right? It's not because we're commanded to do them, but it's because we have to put our brick in to go above and beyond what is called the call of duty. We do it for our jobs in the world, right? And when they ask us the question in the interviews, everybody got an answer. You get about a time that you went above and beyond for your boss, right? How much more the Lord? How much more the Most High? And that's how we got to look at it, man. The commandments is just the bare minimum. You got to look at it like, man, if we just do the commandments just in general, if we do the commandments, there still is a possibility of us not making it. That's how we got to look at it, right? And I think right now, man, I speak as a man, but you look around at people in the world, people in the truth, whatever, and I think there's a big complacency going on amongst a lot of people to the point where they feel like they're good. Some people say, hey, if you get this baptism, you're good. You be straight for forever, right? And then they start slacking on the commandments. You know what I'm saying? Some people, think they can just do the commandments, keep the feast days, have what's the saying? Haphazardly, whatever the saying is, right? I'm trying to be PG here, right? Half behind, like I can keep the commandments half behind, like can show up to the feast days with a little bit of joy, and that would be good, but it's about that calling of going above and beyond, right? This is what you see the apostles do. This is what you see the disciples do, right? And they counted joy when they got persecuted and beaten and kicked out of cities and stuff like that, right? When they were commanded to go and teach these nations out to the four corners of the earth. A lot of people don't realize, man, that was I mean, I know he was talking to the disciples in context, right? But again, what about you does not want to be a disciple, right? And if you want to be a disciple, right, which you should look at what was commanded to them, which was to go out and teach all the nations, right? Go out and spread this gospel, right? And if you look at that, if you're not going out and spreading this gospel, if you're just a note taker, a highlighter, right? If you're just doing the bare minimum, right? It says, what is it saying, Luke? It says that you're good for nothing. You're still unprofitable. How can you be profitable for the Lord if you can't take a talent and multiply it? It's not, you can't get your talent, which is the commandments, right? And hide it. And that's all you do. And you come back, that's all you got to offer. No, you got to multiply that somehow. Put a brick in somehow. You have something to say? Brother Azrael?
But
I thought you was itching.
nah. But Paul told the Colossians, remember my bonds, right? Remember these bonds that I'm under, or whatever he said, right? Meaning, hey, sometimes you got to do a little extra to not only be remembered, but to be blessed. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people look for a blessing just because they're keeping the commandments, right? And Brother Isaiah is the first to tell people on the street corner when we're evangelizing, you can keep the commandments and still get persecuted. A lot of people think, hey, just because you keeping the commandments, you deserve a blessing. Well, God I'm keeping the Sabbath, so God knows my heart. I'm keeping these feast days, so and I've kept these feast days for 3 years, so I'm past due a blessing from God. But at the end of the day, man, you gotta go above and beyond. Some of the people that you read about in the Bible, they went above and beyond, right? They went the extra mile. They didn't just keep the commandments, they stood up for righteousness. Because you can keep the commandments and not stand up for righteousness, right? You can, not break any of the laws, statutes, and commandments of God and still just, you know, not ever stand up when you're supposed to. You never rebuke anything that's sin. You never put any friends or family in check. You never stand up bold for the Lord,
Right,
right?
man. In a sense, man, it's almost like just keeping the commandments in itself is the epitome of being lukewarm, right? And then you get spewed out your mouth. I know it gets hard from time to time, you know, uh, being in this truth, and you relearning your heritage and learning these commandments, and then you start keeping them, right? And you denying your flesh, and you start asking yourself, dang, brother Denal is saying that that's not enough. Like, what else can I do? And that's where you go in your private closet. That's when you do your study, and you start asking yourself, like, what else can I give? What else can I do? Right? For the jobs that you guys have, right? Or the classes that you guys take, you find ways to make yourself stand out, right? The same thing in this truth. It might not be as it might not come to you overnight of what you should be doing to put your brick in. Um, that's more than just the bare minimum, but you should be finding ways that you can put your brick in, whether it's that's doing more charity, or making time to go out and hand out information literature with information on it, right? um starting something, right? You know, there, and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It's not, it's easier said than done, right? But you're looking at brothers that have tried to put the plow to this thing other than just keeping the commandments, right? We set time aside to go out on the street corners, right? We set time aside every week to try to put in at least 2 videos to you guys, man, right? Constantly staying in this thing, constantly trying to be consistent and go above and beyond, right? Me personally, there's no commandment that says you have to read the whole Bible, right? But me personally, man, I felt like, man, I got to take that upon me to read this, to complete this whole thing that I say I believe in, right? That I say that I'm coming out of every week. You know what I'm saying? These just little battles that you can strive for. So can somebody read Isaiah 64 for me?
Isaiah chapter 64 and verse 6. But we are all as unclean thing. Salakia. But we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousnesses are filthy rags. Our
This is the precept that a lot of Christians like to throw out there, right? And they say it, and they use it to pretty much say the opposite. Our righteousness is filthy rags, so why even try? Right? That's literally how they use it. But the way it's supposed to be used is that, hey, look, our righteousness is as filthy rags, and we got to work it. We should be working overtime to clean them, right? To clean these rags. Keep reading.
con, and we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away.
Right. A lot of people don't know, man. As much as we say we keep the commandments, best believe our iniquities outweigh um our righteousness, right? Our flesh, right? And people say you can't say that about everybody. Man, it's David had made many prayers saying, "Hey, man," he prayed for the stuff that he didn't even realize he was doing when he was sinning. He prayed for the stuff um, in his youth, the sins that he committed in his youth, and things like that. Man, we're just coming back to our heritage. There's so many things that we're trying to get right, but there's so many things that we could be doing wrong and don't even realize it, man. We're fighting against that, right? Everything's weighed in the balance, and we're trying to, not really just make even. We're trying to make sure that we tip the scale the other way, so that we can say we're actually putting in our brick. But it says that our righteousness is as filthy rags. We know what our righteousness is, right? Keeping these commandments. We go over it all the time. That's like filthy rags. We just saw in Luke how just keeping the commandments, you're still unprofitable, right? So it's about that going above and beyond, right? It's about that multiplying your talent, right? Let's go to First Corinthians, man. First Corinthians 15 and 58. Right? Let's see. Somebody can read that.
First Corinthians chapter 15 and 58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord.
Right, man. You wanna continue to be steadfast, man. Be consistent, unmovable, meaning unshakable, man. Right? No one should be knocking you off of this path. Nothing should be knocking you off of this path of working for the Lord, right? Whether that be um, financial, whether that be any type of hardship, feelings, anything, man, right? Nothing should be moving you off of this path. Always abounding in the work of the Lord, no matter what. No, right? I mean, we're gonna say right or wrong. I'm not gonna say that, but whether you're feeling in season or out of season, man, you should always be abounding in the work of the Lord, whether you feel good or whether you feel bad. We mentioned it before, man, but there's some brothers out there, right, that we've seen teaching, doing lessons on the street, sick as a dog, right, in the cold, still abounding in the work of the Lord, right? Because um, one phrase that I was looking at inspirational videos. I was seeing if I could find one that I could share with you guys. But one phrase that they say is to go about above, going above and beyond is, if I don't do it, who will, right? And that's the attitude we have to have, right? That's why people go out there when they're sick, right? When they can't breathe, got a stuffy nose and coughing and sneezing, right? Um, can't even open it. Fighting to keep their eyes open, stuff like that. When they're tired, it's 10:14 right now, right? I'm sure all the brothers on the screen, their flesh is telling, "Hey, I want to go lay down," you know. But it's that attitude of saying, like, if I don't do it, who will, right? If I don't get on live, who will, right? It's only three of us, right?
So I get too. It all boils down to never being satisfied, right? That's what it means to have zeal or to be zealous. You're never satisfied. You always want to keep going. Give an example. I worked for a boss of mine one time that owned his own business. And like the brother Denal is saying, he showed up whether he was sick, whether he was happy, whether he was mad or pissed off or sad. It don't matter. He showed up to work because he understood literally at this point, because it was his business and he had the most experience in the whole place. Without him, the day was gonna go terrible. Without him, like his business was gonna lose money. So guess what he does every day? And I witnessed him have surgery and then come back to work the next day, had a catheter and everything in his desk, right? Because he understood, I don't get no pat on the back or good job for this. This is what I'm supposed to do. And on top of that, he had to encourage the people that's underneath him, even if he was feeling bad. Good job today, good work today, knowing that he doing more work than they are. You know what I'm saying? And that's a reflection of what we need to do in this truth. Sometimes it sucks, right? Sometimes it seems unfair, but sometimes you got to work harder than the next person in this truth, right? In this knowledge, right? In this walk. And you don't need to be looking for a pat on the back. You don't. At the end of the day, you're just doing what your duty is, right?
Man, I
Some people
remember
have a higher calling than the next.
I remember coming into this truth, man, having a lot of righteous jealousy, right? And you got to catch yourself sometimes and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, you know. But that friendly competition of, oh, brother did 3 videos, I'm gonna do 4 videos this week. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and again, man, right? You got to catch yourself, make sure you're doing it for the right reason. But like, brother done fasted 3 days, I'm gonna try to fast 4 days in the spirit. You know what I'm saying? And it's just having that mindset, never satisfied. If I don't do it, who will? Right? I want to be the big dog on top. I want to be the point guard, the leader, the playmaker out here. Right? I want to when the Most High looks down on earth and He says, "I want to use somebody," I want Him to be able to pick me. Right? And that's the mindset you should have. Right? I got a couple more scriptures in the tank, man. Let's go to Romans 12:1. I think we went to this not too long ago. Nah, I went to this on the street. Went to this on the street, but we can go right here, right? Let me see. Let's go. Romans 12:1.
Book of Romans, chapter 12, and verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
This is your reasonable service. And here's the thing, right? When it says it's your reasonable service, that your body is a living sacrifice, it's not up for debate, right? This is your it's saying like, man, this is your service, and it's a reasonable thing for him to ask of you, right? He died for you. The least you can do is, present your body as a living sacrifice, and use your, because you're not your own no more. Once you're committed to this faith, once you're committed to believing in Christ Jesus, right? You know who the world calls Christ Jesus. Your body is not yours no more. Your life isn't yours no more, right? We were talking about this the other day. A lot of people get in this truth, man, and they feel sorry for themselves, and they get tricked by saying, "Man, the Lord will understand," and the land of our captivity, X, Y, and Z, so it'll be okay. Nah, bruh. You gotta, the brother Azrael, he told me the other day, he just saying, he was like, hey man, you people act like the Most High didn't know he was gonna be here in 2024 and the society wasn't gonna be the way it was. So you gotta understand, like, making your body a living sacrifice, man, you know what you signed up for. It comes with the territory, right? We can make a whole video on that alone. It comes with the territory, right? And one thing that comes with the territory you got to understand is, as an Israelite that doesn't work on the Sabbath, this world operates kind of crazy to the point where it's like, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's pretty hard for you to be what they call rich and keep the Sabbath, right? Especially a Saturday Sabbath, right? It's kind of hard for you to become rich and do that, right?
It's even
Um,
harder to do it if you do a lunar Sabbath, to be honest.
and so check this out though. What I'm saying is, it comes with the territory. Are you okay with being an Israelite and never being rich? We were talking about this last Shabbat, and I was just thinking to myself, like, hey, look, man, I don't mind not being rich. One, it's gonna keep me honest. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna keep me in the mindset of, of reality of who we are, who my people are, the struggles that we go through. Because once you get into a certain tax bracket, man, there's a disconnect in reality, and that's one thing I don't want to reach, especially being an Israelite in this truth, right? So that's one thing. Two, right, man, more money, more problems, more distractions, right? And then, for some reason, the more money you get, the more you think God is on your side and He's approving all the stuff that you do just because you feel like you're getting blessed for it, right? And so one thing I think people lose sight of is the fact that persecution is going to come with this territory, right? You should be aiming to live a peaceful life, sure, right? And once you got everything that you need, whether it's a vehicle, a house, a family, food on the table, things like that. Once you get that stuff, man, that's really the necessities that you need. Anything else, man, if you get it, that's cool. Not saying not to strive for more, right? But don't let that be your driving force, right? If it comes, it comes. But understand what comes with the territory is saying no to some jobs. Is saying, hey man, I might be in debt a little bit longer, right? You know what I'm saying? It comes with the territory. Why? Because your body has been made a living sacrifice, right? You're not yours no more, right? It comes with thinking, um, I got to go above and beyond. We were talking about this the other day, especially like about the Sabbath. Um, you know, things like the Sabbath is a simple commandment. I can't go in my mind and engineer a reason why the Most High is gonna honor me breaking the Sabbath when I know whether it's a land of captivity or not, when I know He has killed people for breaking the Sabbath. That means if He allows me to do that, that means that them people died in vain, right? They died for no reason, and I refuse to think that my God would do something like that. So if I refuse to believe my God would do like something like that, I have to take it that serious, even in 2024 today in my land of captivity. So I say no to the jobs that will require me to work on what I believe is the Sabbath, right? And I'll put emphasis on what I believe is the Sabbath because people believe the Sabbath is on different days, but it's still personal to what you believe is the Sabbath. And if you break that, that's you're breaking your Sabbath at the end of the day. There's no excuse for it. Sorry, there's no excuse for it. I haven't seen not one excuse for it in the Bible, right?
Yeah, the Bible talks about the the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life, and it also talks about the cares of this life choking you out, right? Um, Spoke with the elder earlier, and the brother was telling me, the cares of this life can easily turn into another god. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't be given to the cares of this life, even though there are plenty, because the cares of this life can turn into another god, and before you know it, all you're thinking about are the different stuff that are causing you to be oppressed. Right? Once you accept the fact, and I watched the younger brother's lesson today, a little short clip he did. Once you accept the fact, I agree with him, by the way. Once you accept the fact that we as a nation are being punished, and you just be humble and operate in the Lord's will, you'll accept the fact that the cares of this life you're gonna always want something more. You're gonna always desire something, but at the end of the day, do you have what you need to survive and to serve the Lord? If you could check off them boxes, you know what I'm saying, you have all you need. You don't need much else, right? Anything else is excess. It's extra, right?
Okay.
God bless you with a wife, that's extra. God bless you with a husband, that's extra. He gave you some kids, that's extra. He gave you a nice job, that's extra, right? All this other stuff, that's cares of this life. If he as your single being, right? Forget for a second about your parents, your siblings, your brother, your sisters, your kids, you yourself. If you can eat, if you can, work to get a little money to have some shelter, right? And you have enough to be able to praise God and to do the work of God, right? Everything else is extra. So a lot
Yeah.
of times the cares of this life, man, they overflow and choke us out. And when the Bible say they choke us out like thorns, hey, that means it's really killing you, right? Because it ends up causing you to break commandments, ends up causing you to break the law, and we know that is sin, and the wages of sin is death. But I yield.
Don't be that guy. Um, like in the time of Ezra, man, they had plenty of people saying like, why do our enemies do wickedness and then get blessed for it? They asking the Most High this, right? Don't be that guy that look at that situation and look at your enemies and the sinners and how they're getting blessed in this land and be like, well, screw it, man. I'm gonna do what they do too, right? Because we deserve it. Don't be that guy, right? Take it on the chin. Why? Because it comes with the territory, right? Um, you had something to say, Isaiah?
I can wait till after you read this. I got a precept to go with what you just said.
Somebody want to read 1 Corinthians 7:23?
First Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 23. Ye are bought with a price. Be not ye the servants of men.
Just like we were saying, man, don't be servants of men, man. And when it says servants of men, yourself is included in that. Don't be a servant of yourself, right? Always thinking about gain, right? You were bought with a price, meaning that you're not supposed to be serving nobody else but the Most High, right? Uh, and that includes yourself. The things that you do, the motive that you have every day, should not be a motive for yourself. It shouldn't be a motive for anybody but the Most High and furthering, His kingdom, right? And I'm gonna be honest, man, it's hard to do that. As an individual, I will let you know it's hard to do that, to go out every day and put yourself aside, right? And not dwell on things that you want and things that and dreams that you want to come true and stuff like that. It's hard, man, right? But we gotta die to ourselves daily. That's why it tells us to do that. Why? Because we are bought with a price. I'm insubordinate when I operate out of the will of the Most High and in my will. I'm acting, um, uh, um, you know, out of my job description when I go out and I'm not using my mind to further the kingdom, but further uh, Ashton's kingdom, right? Because I was bought with a price, and I'm not supposed to be a servant of men or myself, right? What precept you wanted to bring out?
Can you go to the book of Sirach, chapter 11? We're gonna start at verse number verse number 20, and I'm gonna read through 25, 26. So you can leave it wide, and I'll just try to be brief because it goes right with what you're saying, right with what you said, right with the brother Azrael was saying earlier.
You said Sirach 20?
Sirach chapter 11, and we're gonna start at verse number
11
20.
and 20.
Time. It says, it's the book of Ecclesiasticus, or also known as Sirach or Sirach, chapter 11 and verse 20, and it says, "Be steadfast in thy covenant, and be conversant therein, and wax old in thy work." Right. So, like the brother said earlier, man, a lot of us, when we come into the knowledge of the truth, we realize that we entered into a covenant with the Lord many, many, many moons ago, right? And we have a duty to uphold the ways of that covenant. So when it says be steadfast in that covenant, we need to remind ourselves to stay true to what we know is the truth, like it mentions in Psalms 119 and 142, right? Be conversant therein, like Paul gave the advice, or was that Peter that said, have your conversation honest amongst the Gentiles, right? I think that was Peter that said that, right? And wax old in thy work. What does Proverbs 22 and 6 say? Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not turn from it. So as if we got to come as little children in this walk, we need to continue to train ourselves up in the way that we should go. And that way, as we wax older and older, our work is still the same. We're still doing what's required of us. But like the brothers is saying in this video, sometimes you got to go above and beyond. No, it's not a commandment for us to get on here 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and give a breakdown of something that we've read or we've been meditating thereon and sharing it with the people, you know? And it's crazy because he said a point, you know, brothers is, tired. When he texted that he was gonna get on live, I promise to you, I was finna send a message back, say, bro, why you wait so late to say something? I'm finna go to bed now, I didn't plan on getting on, but I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back, right? I'm just saying that because it's just funny how, the Lord works, man. You make a video about going on and patting yourself on the back for the things that you should be doing, and realistically, nah, you don't need to have a pat on the back. Why? Because this is a part of the covenant that I made with the Lord. This is a part of the covenant that brothers made with the Lord. So I need to be steadfast in it, regardless of what time it is, regardless of how I feel, right? And we should all strive to be the same. Now I'm gonna skim through these verses real brief because I want to hit the point, right? Verse 21, it says, "Marvel not at the works of sinners, but trust in the Lord and abide in thy labor. For is it for it is an easy thing in the sight of the Lord on the sudden to make a poor man rich." Now I'm not giving this reading that to give people hope who's broke down and out going through financial struggles and saying the Lord can make you rich tomorrow. I'm reading that for the first part of what the precept says, marvel not at the work of sinners. Why? Because the brother just said sometimes in the time of Ezra, our people was like, man, the sinners, the heathens, they sin and they get blessed. And meanwhile, we don't sin and we get cursed, right? But you just got to remind yourself to not marvel at the works that they do. Don't go join hand in hand like in the time of Maccabees with the wicked and go make a covenant with the wicked, right? Hey, be steadfast in thy covenant, right? And wax old in thy work, right? Let me read these other verses. It says, verse 22, the blessing of the Lord is in the reward of the godly, and suddenly he making his blessing flourish. Verse 23, say not, what profit is of my service, and what good things shall I have hereafter, right? Hey, look, if you continue to do the work of the Lord, your blessing may not come on this side of life, but it may come on the side that matters the most, which is the everlasting side, right? Like brother said, sometimes we gotta make peace with being in captivity. We gotta make peace that we should be punished for the things that we did aforetime, right? Our foremothers and fathers, and we gotta make peace with that. We're suffering the curses because of their actions, and that's okay, because like we read at camp, man, it's very bittersweet. It's bitter because, man, of course, nobody really likes, facing the hardships that we do, but it's sweet at the same time knowing that we're the people that the Lord chose to endure those hardships. So we have rewards on waiting on us, right? But we, again, going back to verse 20, we got to be steadfast in our covenant, right? We got to be conversant therein and wax on in our word. And I'll close it with this and say again, verse 24, again, say not, I have enough and possess many things, and what evil shall I have hereafter? Like the brother Azrael said earlier, and brother Danal said it too, man. You gotta always have a hungry type of spirit for this truth, right? You can never be satisfied. Don't think that because you get a certain level of knowledge, a certain level of wisdom and understanding, that really you straight. Oh, I don't got to read as much as I used to no more because I really understand, these things. That's not true. Sometimes you got to remind yourself to go deeper and deeper and deeper into this word because it's like an onion. You got to peel it back layers and layers and layers at a time, but you got to stay hungry. You got to stay wanting to know and understand the secret things, the mysteries, the dark sayings, right? Because at the end of the day, like it reads in verse 25, it says, uh, wait, hold on. In verse 26, I'll close it with this. It says, For is for it is an easy thing unto the Lord in the day of death to reward a man according to his ways. Meaning, some of us get a certain level of knowledge and understanding, we get satisfied, we get content, then we get complacent. And now we start giving in the foolish ways because we feel like, man, I done read it all, I done heard it all, I done seen it all, I done done it all. And we know, us brothers on the screen know people personally that's like that. That have that sort of mindset. Like, I done seen every spectrum of the truth. I'm good. I didn't did, I got X, I got Y, I got Z. It's not supposed to be like that, man. You always got to give yourself over to labor. That's why, again, verse 20, Sirach 11, be steadfast in thy covenant, man. Wax old in thy work. The things that we started off doing as children, the same fire, the same passion, the same due diligence that you were doing, studying, reading, praying, fasting, making videos, rebuking people, doing X, Y, and Z for the truth, is the same type of work that you should be doing in your later years. All right. But with that, I yield.
Man, right? That's good stuff. Good stuff, man. Self accountability, man. That's where it comes into place. Self accountability, and that's one thing that you must have in this truth, right? People may come and go out of your life, man. Even in this truth, you might have a circle, you might have a camp, might have a congregation. People might come and go. So your support group might not be there. Your accountability partners might not be there. But if you have self accountability, man, you'll always be straight. Another thing, going above and beyond um, what's called of you to do, one thing that will help you do is to stay in this truth, right? The commandments, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, man, right? I speak as a man, but the commandments is just not enough to keep you anchored in this truth, right? Because we're in this flesh, right? We operate in this world, in the society. Um, Going above and beyond and being and being committed and consistent will keep you in this truth, right? Even when you don't want to be in this truth, right? Going out every Saturday on the street corners, right? trying to pop out 2 videos a week on this keeps, I'm gonna be honest, it keeps me in this truth, right? If I didn't do that, right, I can see how it's easy to fade out of the truth without having something to keep me going and something to keep me consistently um in this word, right? Doing this work. So I see why a lot of people end up leaving the truth, going back into the world, doing X, Y, and Z, because they don't have something that's anchoring them in, that's above and beyond these commandments, right? This work that we do that's not called of us to do, that's what keeps me, and I'm gonna be honest, that's what keeps me going and keeps me in this thing, right? If I wasn't pumping out videos every week with these brothers, if I wasn't going out on the street corners, man, that's when my mind would, man, it would be too much idle time. I already got too much idle time right now when you talk about putting in work for the Lord, right? We can be doing more. But if you talk about taking all that away, of course I'm gonna start getting into other things. Before you know it, nigga, I'm beyond on social media talking about prize picks. You know what I'm saying? like man, this type of stuff is what keeps me in this truth. Brothers act like, dang man, y'all still going strong. I think we've been doing this for about a little over 3 years now. You know what I'm saying? To where it's not a fad, it's a way of life. It's because we find things to keep us consistent and in this thing, right? I know. I mean, and I think that's really the missing part of a lot of people, why they do wax old, like verse 20 says, is because they're not going above and beyond. They don't have anything to keep them uh going. And then you just think about it in general. Like if you was going, if I don't know how to put it, man. But if you don't have something that's keeping you coming back to work every day, right? You're gonna stop going to work. It's that
Yeah,
plain and simple.
you're gonna replace it. Like if you're not doing, you're gonna always be doing something. But if you lack in one area, you're gonna fulfill it with something else. Like the brother said with the prize picks thing, right? If 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 I know at this time every day I'm not doing anything and I'm getting tired of just being bored, I'm gonna fill it with something. And you're by default gonna end up giving your attention, your devotion, and your time to something, right? And
And when you're
whatever that
committed to something, and when you're
whatever that
committed to something,
right,
it literally, it's like, yeah, my bad.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say, whatever that is, right? It's either gonna be secular, demonic, or it's going to be for the Most High God, right? And the thing is, the brother made the example of prize picks because you don't want to become a prize picks ambassador when you have all the time in the day to be an ambassador for Christ, and you didn't even give it a thought to be an ambassador for Christ.
Right, man. Because you got to think, man. The thing about commitment to something like doing the extra mile is the fact that if you're truly committed to it, and you're disciplined enough to be like, I'm indebted, I made a vow to do this, right? If you're really taking that serious, that's gonna keep you coming back. You know what I'm saying? Whether life gets boring, whether this truth starts to slow up, whether the prophecies start to, get kind of hazy. You know what I'm saying? That vow that you made to keep continuing this work is gonna keep you coming back, and then ultimately it's gonna keep you anchored in this truth, right? In this crazy world, right? But it's Baruch 4:28. You got something to say, brother Isaiah?
Man, before you read that precept, Sirach 33, man, I was thinking about pulling that earlier too, but y'all touched on it anyway. Sirach is like Sirach 33 and 27, and it's talking about idleness, man. And idleness teaches much evil, right? So just like you mentioned, if it wasn't for, the above and beyond, some people can kind of just fall out the truth because they get bored of doing the commandments over and over and over and over again. They need something extra. Like the brother just Azrael just said, a lot of people, you don't understand, you just replace one thing with the next. So that's why it's important, to again be steadfast in thy covenant, like we read in Sirach 11 and 20, because you begin to get tired of the same status quo, and trust and believe when brothers say there is a such thing, a real thing, as spiritual fatigue. And it's not necessarily getting tired of living righteous and keeping the commandments, but one thing about the flesh is always warned against the spirit. So the flesh can make you, in a sense, tired of I'm not gonna say tired of doing the right thing, but it seems like a lot of times stuff can get boring. So you look for other things to kind of bring you excitement. And you just gotta know that you gotta stay constantly moving and constantly meditating in the word, like it says in Psalms 1 and 2. The happiness in the law, and doth he meditate day and night, right? You gotta stay meditating in the word, because if you don't, man, you just gonna fall into all this mischief, right? All this folly and madness. And like the brother Naquan from WFI likes to bring out, the one word is called surfeiting. Surface. I forgot how to pronounce it, but basically pleasuring yourself, right? But con.
Come, man. Come. Baruch 4:28, man. Somebody can read that for me.
Baruch.
Baruch 4:28. It says, "For as it was your mind to go astray from God, so being returned, seek Him 10 times more."
Right. And it's really, the way I see it, it's really the state that everybody's in. Right. I know everybody got your little individual, personal little relationships with God, but as a whole, this is where we're at. Right. We went astray from God, and the whole nation needs to be seeking Him 10 times more right now. Right. And so that's in itself is going above and beyond just the bare minimum, because we left Him before, we disrespected Him before. And so now it's like anybody that's ever been in a relationship, if with whether you had a girlfriend cheat on you and you took her back, or you had a boyfriend cheat on you and you took him back. 9 times out of 10, even the Kevin Hart situation, right? I remember he was going on a bunch of interviews after he got caught cheating and stuff. You got to put in work, right, to regain that trust, right? You got to put in extra work to just to be back in good graces, and that's where we're at right now, right? I'm gonna go back to Luke 17, and we'll end on the first precept, right? Just to reiterate this, man, just because I like the way that Christ um put this, right? Let's go to Luke 17. We can start at verse 10, right?
Luke 17 and verse 10. So likewise ye, when ye shall have done all those things which are commanded you,
When
say
you
we
do
are
the commandments, right? When you do what's commanded of you, right? When you just keep these commandments, this is the mindset that you should have. Keep reading.
say we are unprofitable servants. We have done that which was our duty to do.
Saying like, hey man, we can't boast in this. We just did what we was told to do, right? He said, which one of you have a servant, and after you commanded him to do something, uh, you know what I'm saying, you praised him. It says, I think not. Because he's supposed to do that. As servants, man, we're supposed to do these commandments. It's our job to go above and beyond. Just something to think about, just a little bit of wisdom on this Wednesday. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope this was edifying, giving all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Do so by way of His Son, who's an instrument of salvation for the nation. Remember, if you're not gathering, you're scattering. If you're not going above and beyond, are you lukewarm? I don't know. You gonna make it? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You gotta
Yeah,
put that break.
you remember them movie? They have it in some movies where it's like there's a king or somebody that got a servant, like you said, and the servant will be like, "Sir, I've ran the bath water," and they'll just be standing there, and the king will be like, "Okay, you're dismissed." You know what I'm saying? That's kind of in the situation we are right now. You know what I'm saying? I kept the Passover. Okay, that's kind of in the
Weren't you
situation.
supposed to?
Yeah,
Weren't you supposed to? You know what I'm saying? I fed your sheep. Okay. Weren't you supposed to? If you didn't do it, weren't they gonna die? Like, and so keep that in mind, man. But it's been another one. Hopefully, guys, we see you again this week. What day? I don't know. Maybe tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? If the spirit leads. But a shout out to this brother too, man. Right? This brother turned 35 today. Shout out to that brother. Welded. But come, man. See you guys next time. Hope you have a good night, man. Didn't want to be too long with it, but we say shalom.